Hello, friends. It's Nancy from Astrology and Angel Mediums today with another tarot spread that I wanted to share with you guys. So today I'm going to be doing the past life spread. You don't have to use tarot decks for these spreads. You can use whatever cards you want. There's even past life decks. So if that is something that you're interested in doing instead, I think this would be great to use even with like the Beloved Dead Oracle from Carrie Paris or the Relative Tarot, which is what I use for my ancestral practices and past life kind of work. But today I'm going to kind of do an example reading and kind of talk about this spread with my Magpie Tarot deck that I put together last year. So let's see. The very first card is going to be Who Was I? So I'm just going to have like the intention of having the deck tell me who I was in a past life. So we have card number one. We have the Hierophant or the Wise One in this tarot deck for myself. Okay. And since it was reversed, we're going to keep it reversed. So sorry about flipping it over. I just wanted you guys to see the card. All right, and then for card number two, we have What Was My Strength? So this is going to go directly opposite. We have the Sun. Like, hold on. I may have to move some stuff out of the way so we have some space because it's going to be a big one. Okay. Now we have card number three, which is How Can I Call Upon This Part of My Soul? So we want to know, how can I call upon this part of my soul? So here I have the Ace of Pentacles. All right, now we have card number four, which is What Was My Greatest Challenge? And this is going to go over here. Strength, reversed. All right. What was my major life lesson in my past life? This is going to be card number five, and the Knight of Cups. And what unresolved karma am I carrying for card number six? So we have the Seven of Swords reversed. This is very interesting so far. And how can I clear it? How can I clear this energy? We have the Two of Wands upright. All right, so let's try to like move this up a little bit so you guys can see how I've laid this out. And again, you can always put a spread out however you want. I just kind of wanted to show you guys what it looks like if we were to lay it out the way that it's supposed to look, if you want to look at it that way. Okay, so again, we can start with card number one, which was the Hierophant reversed. And so again, the question that I asked was, who was I? So for me, how I would interpret this being the Hierophant is that maybe I really wasn't someone that was allowing the traditions and the like religious aspects of that time period to be something that very much affected how I lived my life. Or maybe I was someone that didn't really learn what I needed to learn, which is funny because I'm a Taurus, like a sun sign Taurus. And this is the card related to Taurus. I think it's funny that it's like reversed because maybe it's saying like, well, this is why you're a Taurus this lifetime. But with the Hierophant reverse or the Wise One in this deck, we're kind of getting a little bit of this energy of maybe having to kind of reflect on maybe some of the things I believed in, maybe some of the things that I needed to learn, maybe some of the things I needed to teach. Maybe I wasn't very good at like, you know, moving into the energy of accepting what was and kind of moving with that a little bit more. So I think it can kind of give me a couple of clues as to maybe what I was doing. Maybe I was someone that lived on the fringes of society, which is funny because I also have my North Node in Gemini this lifetime and my South Node is in Sagittarius. So it is very much this kind of energy of trying to move out of being too much like in my studies and being too much in like just the learning and things like that and having to teach a little bit more this lifetime, which is why I decided to actually take my YouTube stuff a little bit more seriously in the last year of wanting to share and show the things that I've learned, how I've learned them, and trying to kind of be a little bit more in that energy of sharing all of the information that I've gathered. And so I think that this really is reflective of maybe some of the things that I was doing previously in my previous life, that maybe I'm carrying some of that energy now. So we move on to card number 2, which is going to be the sun. And the question was, what was my strength? Is, again, joy, warmth, shining, maybe being a little bit more of like a friendly person in some ways is kind of how I would utilize this as a means of answering that question for myself. Which, again, this is kind of interesting because this lifetime I am a Leo rising, which is ruled by the sun. So I think that this is kind of saying like my strength was in kind of showing up in an authentic way, because I think the sun is very much about shining in your most authentic way, showing up in joy, finding the things that make you feel happy, finding warmth, finding things that like really connect to you in so many different ways. And so I think that this is almost saying like my strength was in showing up in a very authentic way to myself, even if it wasn't the traditional way, or even if it wasn't always what other people would have expected from a person during that lifetime. So for card number 3, we have, what can I call, or how can I call upon this part of my soul? So here we have the Ace of Pentacles, which to me, the aces always talk about the door opening, the new beginning, opportunities. And with this being the Pentacles, this is all about earth. This is all about the body. This is all about the physical. This is like, being in the material world. So it can talk about the career elements, the financial elements. It can talk about the physical elements. And so for me, this is almost saying like, how can I call upon this part of my soul? I'm someone that really loves nature and loves to kind of refresh myself and my energy and kind of ground myself a little bit more by going out into the world, to new places, traveling, kind of experiencing new things, while also being very physical in a lot of the things that I do. Like even the career choice that I have at the current moment is also another job that is very physically demanding, which I feel is like a great way for me to feel very grounded and rooted in who I am. So this is almost saying like, how can I call upon this part of my soul? Is to be very in the physical, is to maybe like open the door into the physical aspects of myself that I'm carrying at this time. So that's how I would interpret that. All right, so let's move on to card number 4. We have, what was my greatest challenge? So here we have strength reversed. Perhaps I struggled a bit with trusting that I was powerful enough, whether it was in different aspects or elements of my life. Maybe I had to kind of diminish some of this within myself, or maybe I struggled a bit with feeling like I had to kind of hold everything together. And again, I think it's interesting because this is another Leo associated card to me. We have that lion, right? And I am a Leo rising. And it is something that I feel I've struggled with quite a lot, to come to terms with what that means in so many different ways. So I think that this is very interesting to kind of see this, because it's saying, how can I call upon this part of my soul? Or sorry, no. What was my greatest challenge? Because it's card number 4. So maybe I've struggled with feeling powerful enough or feeling strong enough. Maybe there has been a lack of external strength being applied in different ways. And so maybe it's like saying, hey, this lifetime, maybe you feel like you have to consistently prove that you are strong enough. And that is a common thread of some trauma for me. So it's very interesting, because I thought this was just going to be like a little fun thing, because I haven't really tried this spread for myself. So this is kind of funny that I do these as an example for you guys, and then I end up getting read publicly. All right, so let's move on to card number 5. That's going to be this Knight of Cups. And so here we have, what was my major life lesson? Now, the Knight of Cups is a card of like romance and creativity and kind of going after different things. And I think the Knight of Cups here is kind of saying like, maybe my lesson was in, being more creative, being more intuitive, trusting others. Maybe there was an element of maybe some interpersonal relationships that really affected me and having to learn how to trust some romantic partners, or being more open to how to be essentially a lover girl, if we want to call it that. I don't know if it was feminine energy that I had previous or masculine energy. So I'm just going to say like kind of like that lover girl, lover boy sort of energy of just really loving life for what it is. And so that may have been a big lesson for myself, especially if I was so focused on the traditional, trying to find things that made me happy, maybe feeling like I couldn't really be powerful in some ways. The Knight of Cups is almost requiring a lot of vulnerability, I think, because the Knight of Cups to me is very much like saying like, what are you willing to kind of fight for when it comes to the things that are heart-centered or heart-centric? And so I think that maybe this is almost saying that my major life lesson was in being more receptive and really loving life and allowing, things to be kind of romantic. I think it's so hard being a person most of the time. And I'm sure at different points in time, life was not that easy. And so maybe it was hard to kind of find the romance and find the like joy and happiness in certain times. All right, so moving right along to card number 6, which is what unresolved karma am I carrying? And here we have the 7 of Swords reversed, which this is usually a card of like secrets and sneakiness and people not being very honest and a lack of, again, kind of like being able to like show up in your truth. So I feel like with this being reversed is that maybe this is saying like there are a lot of things that maybe I feel like I can't really talk about or share with others in some ways. So that may be a part of the unresolved trauma, is like not being able to say like, hey, this has happened to me, or hey, I've gone through this hardship, or hey, I've experienced this, or whatever it may be like. And I think the 7 of Swords here is really kind of saying that maybe there's some things within myself like where I may feel like I am not truly empowered, or maybe it's hard for me to have a way of really sharing my truth in some ways. And that is true. I feel like since I've been kind of in this like space for so long, in the sense of like into the metaphysical, into the esoteric, since I was like a kid, growing up in the 90s, it really wasn't something you could talk about quite so freely until, like the craft movies came out and stuff like that. But even then, there was always a sense of like you couldn't really live your truth out loud as you can now, which I mean, it's been like, 30 years since then, which is great that we're seeing some progress, but it still can feel very challenging if you are someone that goes against the norm or the traditions to kind of show up in that energy. So I think it's interesting to have the 7 of Swords here, because it's almost saying like maybe that unresolved karma with myself is that it's challenging for me to feel comfortable. And it's interesting, I'm just having a revelation here, which I always do with these, is that I do feel uncomfortable being very public about what I look like or who I am and things like that. And I used to say it was because I had young children and I didn't want them to be affected by my kind of beliefs and my choices and things that I believe in. And so maybe that's a little bit of like that karma that I'm carrying, is that I feel like I have to kind of hide and hold back, and I can't really be myself out loud. It's now that I'm in my 40s that I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable with saying like, oh yes, I do that, or I'm into this, or it's okay if you use my picture of my face to advertise what I'm doing. Still hard. I don't know if I will have like a big old video on here where I'm actually reading in front of the camera. Who knows? We'll see. Stranger things have happened, right? So I do think that it's kind of showing a little bit of that energy of feeling a little bit like maybe I restrict myself a lot and feel like I have to kind of be sneaky or hidden away in some ways. And that is something that maybe I do need to clear. And then finally we have how can I clear it, is card number 7. And so to me, this would represent, making a plan, strategizing, kind of allowing the aspect of expansion to be what is like leading me forward, making a choice, feeling balanced about things, but then still doing it in a way that, again, honors that fire energy of like, you know, being passionate and being driven and kind of feeling like travel and momentum and kind of moving into that energy. So I think the Two of Wands is kind of here as a reminder of like, hey, you can do these things and you can feel a little bit better about what you're doing, even if it still feels uncomfortable to kind of break away from tradition in the ways that you have thought it should be. So I'm going to just say the positions again, and I'm going to try to put it like as a little caption or something, or maybe, anyways, I'll figure out how to do it to where you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about with the past life spread. So card number 1 is going to be who was I. Card number 2 is going to be what was my strength. Card number 3. Oh wait, no, card number 2. Oops, see, I already messed it up. Card number 2 is what was my strength. Card number 3 is going to be how can I call upon this part of my soul. Card number 4 is going to be what was my greatest challenge. Card number 5 is what was my major life lesson? Card number 6 is what unresolved karma am I carrying? And card number 7 is going to be how can I clear it? So let me know if you guys do past life spreads, if it's something that you're interested in. I know that this isn't really one to kind of tell you like a lot about maybe like who you were, what you were doing, things like that. I think this is more for like personal development, maybe even just kind of understanding yourself in a way that feels a little bit more objective. Versus like doing like past life regression or things like that, which I do think is very beneficial and I'm a big fan. But things like this can kind of help clue you into maybe some of the things that you're carrying. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Please take care, stay safe, and as always, make good choices. Bye.